town enough that it attracted media attention. And then
Mm,
when his laptop was released, when the Delaware repair shop turned it over, apparently, that's what was said
mm,
to Giuliani, in the
right.
laptop were texts between us, etc.
Tells a story so bold. Mm. She's a warrior, rising her spirit pure gold.
Welcome to another riveting episode of Anna Wilding Unstoppable. Thank you for listening today and watching. If you're watching today, we have Keith Ablow, who is a well-known Fox on-air presenter who, in the past, who was a psychiatrist to a lot of America's significant and important people, senators, Hunter Biden, and all sorts of things. He's world-renowned in his profession, and he's moved on to a new level of coaching for people. And welcome to the studio, Keith. How are you today?
I'm well, Anna. How are you? What a
Hi.
beautiful studio, by the way. You really do everything the right way.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, I used to production design and art direct film. So, I mean, actually, this podcast will be shooting here, but we'll also be filming in some other places. And I will be talking about art and things like that in some of the podcasts. Those will be some of the more benign conversations, I think. But
Probably.
equally important. Thank you so much for joining us today. I also forgot to mention, of course, that you're a best-selling author for years. Keith, how long have you been doing what you do, which is helping people? How would you describe it, what you do?
Well, so I have one core skill, Anna, which is I have a sixth sense for narrative. And I've deployed that in a variety of arenas. Probably the most direct one is helping people with their stories,
Hmm.
because people do very well when they know their own stories. Then they can make decisions with a clear mind. When they don't know their stories, they tend to repeat the past or run from it unconsciously and run into trouble either way because it's hyperbolic and it's an extreme dynamic. When we actually dive deep and know our stories, then we're able to plan in a way that appreciates that backstory, just like a character would in a film or in a novel, which you know plenty about.
Hmm.
And so I've been doing it for 30 years. I've worked as a psychiatrist for 30 years. Then I moved on to coaching and executive consulting. These things are the same. Basically, you're attempting to give people back the nonfiction version of their narratives.
Right.
And, you know, the truth wins every single time. Once you're on firm footing with nonfiction,
Hmm.
you can plan the next page, the next chapter, the next part of your life story. But you can't do it if the whole house of cards is going to fall in on itself like a bad novel.
Right. So people have to be very in touch with who they are authentically. And I think that word gets used far too much. But they do need to know who they are, basically. Is that right? Unfiltered. They need to know who they are, their strengths, their weaknesses. And of course, you deal with the more the personal side than the professional side. Is there a split there in what you do, say what you did when you were a psychiatrist to executive coaching? Is it covering both, or is it two different areas? Describe that.
It's covering both and or, if you will. And very often it's both because what we effort in life, we generally care a lot about. And the person who's moving that forward, whether a founder, a co-founder, or a CEO, will be much more effective if that person feels grounded and if his or her story arc, if you will, is based in the truth and in reality. There are so many forces in our society right now that ask us to leave reality. AI is a wonderful tool, but also it coaxes you to leave yourself to a
Mm,
certain extent. So the self becomes home base more than ever before.
mm,
And being able to say, okay, so if I'm running a company or I'm running my life or
mhm,
both, or I'm running for office,
mhm.
I'd better be based in reality and in the truth because that's my touchstone. That's sort of the divining rod,
Mm.
literally. And I like the word, the divining rod
Right.
will lead me to the next good step in my life and to be
Right.
able to manifest things that are real and not fake.
Right. And to be able to stand in that space where it's truly you, right? Like there's space around everyone else to come into your transparency as well. Does that make sense? And I'd love
That's so true. It's you become magnetic to the extent that you are real.
mm-hmm,
And a lot of that has to do with pain.
mm-hmm,
So, people are so worried about sharing their authentic selves, which generally relates to what they've survived,
mm-hmm,
not as much necessarily to what they've achieved. Really, people have this magnetic pull toward the authenticity of what you've gone through and survived because pain is common to everyone's life.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so if you can know it, look
mm-hmm.
at it, integrate it into your self-concept, and then share it, you're going to help a lot of people, first of all, but you'll also become trusted,
Mm-hmm.
magnetic, and on firm footing to do whatever it is that you need to do next in life or in the life of your business.
We all suffer. It's absolutely true. We all suffer. And we also have to recognize that suffering is not a continuous thing. I mean, it's like a wave. I mean, things are transient, they are impermanent to a certain point, but you do have to acknowledge that and that having happened in your life at the same time, I believe, right?
You really do have to. And uh, it's much better. Well, we know this. When I had a talk show, a syndicated talk show through Warner Brothers for a year, and I would start every single episode by noting for the studio audience before the cameras rolled. Listen, if each of us were to share the top three things from our resumes or a couple achievements of which we're very proud, all 150 of you would leave the room strangers still.
Mm.
If, on the other hand, everybody in the room said, these are the few things in my life that I almost never talk about. They were the hardest to survive. I'm not even sure I'm done
Mm.
processing it. We wouldn't leave the room strangers. We would leave the room with real connection. And
Right.
what's really amazing and almost miraculous is that it wouldn't take 150 people. If three people out of 150 did that, we'd all still be connected because we're in the presence of the truth, which
Mm.
connects people. It's miraculous. It's human empathy,
Mm-hmm.
really, which
Mm-hmm.
we think of as, oh yeah, right, I feel what you feel. No, no, no. That's a miracle.
Mm. Mm. I think empathy is so important in our day and age, and I swear I would not talk about politics as little as well, I would as little as possible, but I'm not going to go where I was about to go then. But I am going to talk about something, Keith, that is happening, a disturbing trend on the internet right now, and that is that successful women are being torn down, like, whether it's Threads or, Sky Social, Twitter. We're seeing a preponderance of men or bots, they may be bots, who are
Hmm.
literally tearing women down who are successful. They can be in film, music, defense, science, PhDs, Air Force pilots, politicians. There's a concerted effort. How do women deal with people, trolls and haters, or
Mm.
what Taylor Swift cleverly calls super fans, because they are super fans. Obviously, they like the person, they're spending time on them. So even if they're spreading hate, they still obviously like the person. How do the people who are subject to that deal with being gaslit like that? Yeah.
Sure. Well, so one thing is exactly what you've pointed out, which is to acknowledge this would not be happening to me if I weren't a lightning rod and successful.
Mm.
So it's worth taking note of that to say, okay, does this come with the territory in some way because of our prejudices as human beings and because not everyone is prepared for powerful women in the world as
Mm.
we ought to be?
Mm.
So one is I must be doing something right.
Mhm.
The second is I think there's a role for Stoic thinking here. The great Stoics would have
Mhm.
said the obstacle is the way,
Mhm.
or the impediment to action creates action.
Mhm.
So I think that similar to my first point, when you encounter resistance in the world, I would say use it as fuel to say, okay, that's my path then.
Mm, mm,
If I have people in this workplace or online or elsewhere that are resisting my progress or
mm,
expressing negative feelings toward me, that's the direction to head in the sense that I'm going to keep achieving.
mm, mm,
That's
mm,
that's my energy, that's my fuel.
mm,
And thirdly, I think there's probably a role for empathy. The
mm,
people who would do that are broken people.
mm,
Now, that doesn't mean you invite them into your inner circle and abide everything that they say,
mm,
but it might be somewhat holding and healing to say these people are broken people. The strong people will applaud me.
mm,
No question,
mm,
right?
mm.
Strong people love success in others.
Right.
People who question their masculinity, who question their femininity, who
Mm,
question their ability to achieve in the world, they're the ones who are going to find anything. It
mm,
might be that you're female, it might be that you're short, it might be that you're too rich for them
mm,
or you're too hardworking. They're
mm,
going to find something
mm,
to tear you down.
mm,
And I think thinking of them as unfortunates
mm, mm,
is the
mm.
best way to proceed.
Right. You shake it off, but you hold space for what they are and empathy. I mean, you learn to be empathetic. It doesn't mean you bring them into your circle. It doesn't mean you say hello. That can be worse. That just starts a whole chain of motions. But you just have to hold that space and move on and be stoic. I happen to come from a country that is very stoic. We had a major earthquake, and everyone said there's one thing. The hometown I'm from was like everyone was so stoic about it. But we can thank the World War I generation for lessons in stoicism. I think they were utterly incredible.
Sure.
Moving on, thank you for all of that. Very wise words. And I think important for people to know of all ages who are being bullied online. I think online bullying is absolutely terrible for both women and men, and a tragedy for kids. But I think it's also a tragedy for adults as well. I mean, when you do something successful and then someone wants to come and knock you down for doing it or pretend that you didn't do it or whatever it is, it's important to know that you're doing something that is a lightning rod. You are successful, and these haters are broken people. I think that's really important. So you've treated a lot of well-known people. Can you talk about that? I know one of the people you treated was Hunter Biden. I mean, Hunter is being put through the washing machine. So he's made some mistakes, but as you can see, the vitriol against him has been utterly extraordinary. It's been very, very targeted. I think it's totally over the top. Some would say it's not. What do you think about all of that? When society, they like beat a dead horse. I can't stand it. I mean, are there not rational people around? I guess not. I mean, the guy did wrong. He knows he did wrong. Do we really have to go on and on and on about it? I mean, you had his laptop for a while, right? I understand. Do you want to talk a bit about that? There was
Yeah,
multiple questions there. I'm sorry. There were.
sure.
I think
That's so many.
first deal with the
That's
fact
good.
society's
Good.
reaction to someone like Hunter Biden.
Yeah, and I wasn't the one who said that I treated Hunter Biden because I don't break faith
Right.
with Congress,
Yeah.
but he was in my town enough that it attracted media attention. And then when his laptop was released, when the Delaware repair shop turned it over, apparently, that's what was said to Giuliani, in the
Right.
laptop were texts between us, etc. So as to the beating a dead horse idea, I think that everyone deserves a second chance in life, number one, or maybe a third.
Mm,
And even though I'm a political conservative,
mhm,
if somebody comes to me and says, I need help, listen, I've treated serial killers, right? I
mhm.
mean, well, they were in jail, thank
Right.
God. But that evens the playing field. You can be a progressive and say, I'm depressed or I'm addicted to something, and you get all of me.
Mhm,
I, your politics don't stop me from helping you. And I think the world could look at it that way too. Like, look, it's not about the politics. So when you take the politics out of it and you look with a clear lens at the man, it would not be a good idea to dismiss as ridiculous, for instance, his art. People were very quick to say, this is insane. This is a way to get bribes. Listen, here's the thing. I look for poetry in life. Here's somebody who, by his own words, says that he was inhaling crack cocaine for a long time. It ruined his teeth. It ruined elements of his life. It owned him. What's the first art that he then began with? He was blowing India ink at rice paper and creating what I think were very beautiful images. Now, you can be an arch conservative, you can support the president of the United States, you can love Donald Trump. I'd still like to ask you this. Is there no beauty in that for you? That inhaling death and then finding that, hey, maybe I'm an artist. And what do you do next? You exhale beautiful colors in patterns that I find I couldn't do it, right? So I can't do it. I'd like to admit that. So I think people can be restored. They can be reborn. They can find their core. Hunter Biden's no different than anyone else in that regard, and is a decent symbol of that in the sense that he says, listen, this is my art. You can make fun of it. You can say it's not real. They've done that with lots of artists. For me, it's an expression of myself. Self in capital letters. When you find yourself, you're really finding God in a way, because it's the truth, your true self. And you can live 50 or 70, or I've worked with 80-year-olds who find their new path in life. It's not a new path. It was their path. But we get so confused, and people around us don't support us. And for those women on the internet, by the way, who are doing the thing they want to do in the world, and people are criticizing them or trying to stop them, you can't let anyone stop you, because there's nothing more powerful than that North Star in your life. You know it, that it's your journey. That's unstoppable. And you should believe in it 1000%, no matter what anybody says.
And it's also, you talk about when an artist, I can't believe we're talking about art now, but when an artist creates, it's their whole story coming. It's not just that moment. Does that make sense? When I photographed the White House and I had my exhibit and Celebrate Hope that did, well, I was bringing decades of history experience, technical expertise, and understanding and wisdom to each of those photographs. Does that make sense? I wasn't just taking that photograph. And likewise with Hunter Biden or any artist, they're bringing with them a lifestyle of experience. And this is what's very interesting to me. It's called the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. At a certain level, science and art are the same thing. There's a incredibly... it's a high octane area when you're working with some of the best scientists and technicians, and you'll usually find that they're also great at music or art or something else as well. And I think there has to be a lot of room for that in society. I think a lot of people, we are told we can only do one thing. I think people do invent or reinvent. I don't even like the word reinventing. There's just many facets to a lot of people, and people can have multiple skills. They just can. Some people have multiple skills. Do you agree or not?
1000%. And those skills may have a common thread that runs through them. For one thing, it could be the person running through it. But what you said, Anna, is extraordinarily wise. The art is also the artist. So art is an antidote in some ways for the technology addictions that we have now. And it isn't the same. You can say, hey, I reproduced this art, this painting by a famous person, and it's indistinguishable. The brushstrokes are the same. Yeah, it's not.
It's not. It's
It's
completely,
not.
yeah.
Because that whole person's life is invested in that moment of creation, and that's more and more valuable because authenticity in the world is going to become more and more valuable. And there's this dichotomy, a split now, I think, as MMA, for instance, skyrockets in popularity. Why? Well, because people are terrified that they're being cleaved from their core selves, their bodies, that they're being evaporated into the cloud. And art is an antidote for that. Wonderful film, an antidote for that.
Right.
You as a creator are an antidote for that.
What
Into
is
the
your what is your favorite book you've written? Just quickly, we have 10 seconds.
All right, 10 seconds. I have to say Living the Truth. Why?
Okay.
Because I actually tried to write a book, Living the Truth, that allows people to have a therapy-like experience in a book.
Right.
So if you haven't been to therapy and you're ambivalent about it, you could grab Living the Truth and you're going to find out some interesting things about yourself.
Okay, and it's available everywhere. And Amazon, I should appreciate for listeners.
It is.
We'll post links. Keith, thank you so much for being with us today. We hope to have you back as a guest down the line, and have a beautiful, wonderful, positive day.
And you too. I appreciate it.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much, Keith. Remember to check the links, subscribe to our podcast, check the links for his book, and we'll see you on the next episode. Who knows what that will be? I do, but you'll find out. Stay tuned, subscribe. Listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.